Welcome to Soul Unscripted. This is the space where spirituality meets strategy and soul-led entrepreneurs come to remember who they are, why they're here, and what they're truly capable of creating. So, I'm your host, Lindsay. I'm a soul purpose mentor, intuitive business coach, and Akashic guide. And I'm here to help you bridge the energetic and the practical so that you can build a business and a life that feels as good as it looks. In each episode, we dive into the real, raw, and unscripted side of spirituality and entrepreneurship. So it's the initiations, the breakthroughs, the magic, and the mess, but all through the lens of alignment, purpose, and truth. Because when you lead from your soul, you don't just build a business, you become the embodiment of your purpose. So take a breath, open your heart, and let's get into today's episode. And I am really excited for today's guest, as I am with all of them, but especially this one, because Heather Paige, she is absolutely incredible, and that's all I'm going to say. I'm gonna pass the floor on to her and allow her to kind of share what it is that she wants to share about herself, and lead the conversation where it is going to go today.
Well, thank you. You're such a beautiful soul. And I really felt that too. And I feel like we're going to talk about that later. Just the connection that you and I had, like right off the bat. It was quite electric, really. So I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you so very much for having me. It is an absolute honor. I love spiritual work. It is what I'm passionate about. It's what I'm most passionate about, people and spirit. And I'm a Canadian, just like you. I'm from Hamilton, Ontario. I'm just a regular girl who has been aware of spirit since I was a kid. Um, it kind of is also in my lineage too. My mom used to tell me about her experiences growing up. So I feel like it was kind of just bred into me. Um, but yeah, I started developing the last couple of years. I started off with Reiki. So I am a Reiki Master, Usui and Kundalini, and I am a psychic medium who I don't know if I specialize really in anything. I love empowering people. That's definitely something that lights me up. I love being able to show people also that they can transform and really build the life of their dreams and really go after what it is that they're passionate about. That really lights me up.
I love that. And this is what, to me, those like when we do this type of deep spiritual transformative work, empowerment is the key. I saw a post actually before, we started here on Threads, and it was from somebody, and they had said about how so many of the spiritual leaders, the astrologers, the energy readers, like everything that they're posting and have been posting for a while is all fear-based. And they're like, I'm not, and I had to comment and say, I completely agree. I am all for empowerment, reminding people that like you hold the key, right? We don't, yes, the world right now, to many people, they feel it's a dumpster fire. A lot of Canadians feel that because the country is not quite what it once was for those of us who have like lived here for, our entire life or most of our life. But, the whole world, like, let's be real, it doesn't kind of really matter where you are. It seems like it's a dumpster fire. But you can subscribe to the fact that the world is a dumpster fire, or you can realize that there's actually people who are still thriving and they're living incredible lives. And so it's like, why, right? Why are some people and some people not? So I love that empowerment key. And I can see how you can bring the mediumship, in and through really to help kind of guide people and the messages and all of that. So I love that. And I love that this has like been you forever. Did you ever though have parts? One of the things that I know, especially as us as soul-led entrepreneurs, as I call it, right? So we lead from heart, we lead from soul. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we're a medium or psychic or we do healing work. It's just that we lead from soul. And, but we all seem to have this struggle. And I say that. I know I did, and I know plenty of my clients have. where like you're filled with so much doubt. And I don't feel like you would ever really doubt your gifts, but I don't know. I wonder, like somebody like you who this is just who you are. Like this isn't something new that you tapped into or came into. But do you ever still, again, maybe it's not your gifts that you have the doubt with, but just even the doubt of sharing it, like putting it out to the world, like making yourself public, because when we do that, I mean, we're opening ourselves up, right?
100%. That's something I've struggled with my entire life. And I still do. Even this morning, I'll give you an example. I was laying in my bed with my cat. I'm actually surprised she's not already on the desk trying to like get in the camera. I'm sure that will happen at some point. But even this morning, the doubt starts to creep in and I start to think, should I do this podcast today? I'm going to put myself out there. What are people going to think? What if I make a mistake? What if I look stupid? And immediately what I do to basically combat that is I say to myself, what would successful Heather do? Successful Heather wouldn't waste a minute, you know, double or second guessing going on the podcast today. She would just do it. And successful Heather would get up and go for that walk, even though I'm like, oh, I don't want to get out of bed today. It's so warm and cozy here. I don't want to go outside. It's so cold. But successful Heather wouldn't think twice. She would get up and she would do that. And successful Heather would wake up and, take her multivitamins that she needs to be taking. So even just little things like that, I feel like I almost don't give myself a way out anymore, where before I used to self-sabotage and kind of talk myself out of things, where now I immediately stop that negative self-talk train and I say, no, successful Heather would do this, and I act on it. So it's almost like I'm stepping into that vibration of my highest, most successful self, and then I'm acting from it. And I think I've accepted the fact that I'm human. I make mistakes. I'm going to put myself out there anyways because I trust and I know 100% that the right people are going to be drawn to that authenticity and they're going to find me. And I'm okay with that because I can't control what anyone says. I can't control what anyone thinks. And when you're focused on the external, I think a lot of times that's why the world is in chaos today, because everyone's focusing on everything outside of themselves when they really need to be putting the onus on themselves. Because let me tell you, if we were all doing that, the world would probably be a lot better place, right? Because we're looking at ourselves and how can I heal? How can I be a better person? And then acting from that. So I think, a lot of times when I struggle with the doubt, even, and that comes up too in mediumship, right? Because, again, I'm human. I'm going to have those moments where I doubt, but I anchor into that trust that I know that what I'm doing is coming from my heart. And when you're authentic and when you're true to that, I feel like you can never go wrong.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. And I hope that anybody listening, that kind of just gives them that little bit. But I love that, like that future self view. So, and I have to share, like, I mean, when I look back at life now and I can see back to like, in my teens even, and there was definitely times. But I also kind of grew up in like a home and a life where it was like, that stuff was kind of crazy. So we just didn't. So I brushed it off. But I will tell you, I mean, after like, many people will know, I kind of had two big awakenings, and, the brain injury was the one, the universe literally hitting me in the back of the head. I left that one. I had my cosmic 2x4. And then the much deeper one. And in that, for so long, I fought, and it would be like I would have things. And then I finally just kind of threw it out. And I can remember I'd be on a session with a client and something, and I'd be like, this doesn't make any sense, but, I'd share something, and they'd either say, oh my gosh, yes, and I'd be like, okay. Or I'd share something, especially if I saw it kind of future wise, which is a really cool thing that we can tap into in the energy of the records. But also as a Pleiadian soul, I am that visionary. So I do see that broader, future vision path. So I would share something, and then they come back to me a week or two or a month later and say, you know how you said that like this shift was going to happen at my job? That happened exactly. Or you know how you said to look for a place X out farther from where I found the absolute perfect place and I'm moving in a week and all these kinds of things. So it's like, guiding people, but I didn't trust it. Then it started coming in with friends. I would go for coffee with a friend and I'd be driving home and be like, and so I just message them and say, and the response would be like, that was my mom. Like that, and just brings so much comfort to them. And so I started to do the whole, okay, if it doesn't make sense to me and I'm called to share, I'm still going to share. And it always lands so beautifully with people. But I had so much doubt around it for so many years. I do still the odd time, depending on who the person is, like not necessarily wanting to share. And I know that that's more me than anything. Um, and we're always ever expanding. We are always ever growing. But I love how you tune into like successful Heather. And like that is just I'm gonna take that and I have to share. So we've chatted before about the cats and I was spotted or whatever, and I was gonna say to you actually, because one of mine, he's always here. There's a couch and he lays on the back of it because he can look out the window, but he's always sleeping there and it's the sweetest thing. So you've got your cat, I've got my cat here with us. And the same thing, he likes to do the walk right across and block the camera and everything. So if that's what happens in this episode, that's what happens. And that's the thing that I did with this is because, like you, right? I would be so nervous to go on a podcast. What are they going to ask me? How am I going to answer it? How am I going to be on the fly? Like, sometimes, especially brain injury, like there's certain and stuff or whatever. So I was so scared about struggling with that. And when I kind of came up with this idea of this podcast, I wanted it to just be truly like real, raw, authentic, no editing. If we fumble, whatever happens, happens. It's all meant to happen. And it's the main reason why I called it Soul Unscripted, because I just really, truly wanted it to be this open, authentic space where we could just be who we truly are. I do not have questions. We do not have scripts. We do like none of that exists here. And, to some, it might be messy and they might think, oh gosh, no, like I want the polished podcast, from, Spotify. And that's okay. This isn't for them. And I had to trust too in the people that will appreciate this. The people that will love it for what it is. And it takes a lot though to really truly like step into your authentic self and be confident in that, right? And put that out there. Just be like, but we're supposed to be messy. We're supposed to be real. Like, there's been this whole dismantling. I don't know if you've, like, last week it was big, but it's been coming and it's been leading up of this whole dismantling of the very polished, professional, big, and I'll say big name, big, massive following, but these spiritual gurus who and like a big name last week, right? And so, but it's really truly stripping back to the fact that people don't want that anymore. They don't want the polished perfection of that everybody needs to be in white flowing dresses. Like I'm surprised that I'm not wearing black today because I am like you and I live in black. I am not what's people if people looked at me and saw me on the street or at an event, they would never in a million years think that I was spiritual because I don't have the look. But I'm not about that. I mean, my energy is all about divine power, and black is my power color. So I live in it, right? But it's just there's just been this big opening of allowing people like you and I to come and just be who we are and put that out there to the world. And I think that that really helps bring other people into that and gives them the permission. So I don't know. How does that land with you?
Totally agree. I totally agree. And for me, like to even be on social media was like a huge step because growing up, I was very much, I guess, like hermit energy, where I was introverted but also extroverted depending on the day, but I do love alone time. I love being in my own energy, but I also love people, so I have to be really balanced a lot of the time because I used to get very overwhelmed with energy, and I didn't understand that when I was growing up until obviously the last couple of years. I always tell people I'm like a metal rod in like a lightning storm. I literally feel everything, so it was like super overwhelming. And I used to always say, like, this is a curse, like I don't know what to do with this. I'm so overwhelmed. I feel everything. And I just didn't know how to really master my own nervous system, really master my own emotions. And once I learned how to do that, and don't get me wrong, I still have days where I fumble because we're human, we're not perfect, but when you can take ownership and you can, step into that true authentic power and really, sit in meditation and use those gifts to your advantage, that's when everything really shifted for me. And I feel like how I present myself allows other people to come forward and be truly authentic. I feel like you create that safe space for people to really just unfold and to open up. And I made a post, I shouldn't say I made a post, but I had posted a really interesting phrase. And it was, I want to create the sacred space for you to be able to take off your armor. And I thought that is so fitting. I know I just got chills too.
Oh,
Because it's
Heather.
it's so true. I want people to feel safe in my energy, but to be able to do that, I need to feel safe in my own energy. So I've worked really hard on, trying to master my nervous system, get into regulation and really be in line with who I am as myself and accepting of myself. And I feel like when people can actually fully accept themselves, I feel like they can accept others, even if others aren't necessarily showing up the way that we would like. I feel like, when you can kind of view it from that point, you don't take it personally anymore. And I feel like a lot of people take things very personally and it triggers them. And that's the key. It's like, why is that triggering me? So I feel like, I don't know why I talked about that, but I feel like for someone that's going to be watching this or listening, it's going to like really hit home for them. So it's, step out into the light. It's okay. It was a lot for me, even. I did a class with you and I had made a post about it. That was the first, I don't know if real is the right term, because I'm kind of behind on like the social media game. And that's one place where I kind of struggle right now, where I'm trying to like integrate everything with business and social media and learning AI and, having a full-time job and still having, to have a life. Um, but I just want to make it okay for people because I know what it's like to, kind of thrust yourself in the spotlight. But I knew to do this type of work and to make the impact that I wanted to make, I knew I had to step forward and really, get on social media, start putting my presence out there and letting myself really be seen and being okay with people not liking me, maybe, having negative things to say and not letting that, derail me.
Yeah, and that's it. It's realizing that when we, and I love that, when we are truly our authentic self, when we remove the armor that we put as protection, which especially as energetic souls, and we absorb all the things, and I totally get it. My son wanted to go to Costco yesterday and was like, "Can you please come with me?" Because he needed help, and I was like,
Ah!
no. But I did. I went with him. And I knew, I mean, we were just also popping in and out, and I knew, and I've gotten much better. But like, I set foot in a mall, go to the grocery store on a Saturday afternoon. I mean, I try to avoid it. I will do it. Like, I put myself, I live the human life, but I just know because it's like so many people and so much energy. And I'm just like, but, but I love that about that armor. And so, but when we strip that away and we're just us, right? And just putting us out there. Yes, we are going to get people who are going to say, she's not for me. And that's totally okay because we're not for everybody. And when you try to like put yourself into this mold of like being for everybody, you truly pull yourself away from who you are. And I do. I love when you posted that reel, like, because it was right after, and you were just so tapped into that next level, Heather. Like, it was the whole experience was so beautifully guided and led. But you sharing that was just incredible. Now, what I'll share, and maybe people out there or whatever, need this as well too. So, because I know myself, okay, like I've fallen into the where every person and this is what you need to do, this is how you're supposed to show up on social media or how you're supposed to post, this is how you're supposed to run your business, this is how you're supposed to run your spiritual business, this is how you're supposed to do your readings, like all of that kind of stuff, right? There's so many rules, but the true essence, like the only rule is for you to be who you truly are. That's it, right? Like it's just to live your soul's purpose and your blueprint. That's the only rule you have. And really, you don't even have to do that because you have free will. So you can choose to not do that if you would like. Um, but if you want an amazing life and you want to just generate positive karma for yourself over and over and over again, then you would choose to do that. But again, we have free will. We can do what we want. But that's the only rule. And so knowing that like social media, showing up on social media, choosing to post what you want to post, like there's accounts out there that never show their face. They're called faceless accounts. There's accounts that just show or just post, motivational quotes, and that's it. That's all that they post. There's other accounts where like they're showing up in their face and talking and doing all the things or whatever. Like I do that quite a bit. And that was not something years ago that I was like, no, can do to. Like the idea of me doing that, terrifying. Back when the stories were only 15 seconds, the idea of me like showing up, even speaking in that 15 seconds, no. And now you'd never guess. But I've also found I go through periods where I am more vocal and out there, and other times where I feel like pulling back, and I just trust. I trust my energy. I no longer post for the algorithm because you'll feel like you've cracked it, and then and it's like, oh, okay, that didn't work that time. I post what I want to post, what I feel I'm called to post, what I feel I'm called to share. That's the rule that I have for myself is just again, it's the being me, right? Just showing up and doing you and who you are. And thankfully, I have not experienced too much. But I don't have a huge following. A lot of people do not see my stuff, which I'm totally okay with because I trust if like one person what I share lands with one person, then I feel like I've accomplished what I wanted to accomplish, right? I do not need tens of thousands of people to, be like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Or be knocking, be ordering into my DMs and all this, but that's not at all. And most of the time people are so quiet. And I think to myself, is anybody even out there? And then every once in a while I'll get a message from someone and they'll say, oh my gosh, your stories have been speaking to me, or you like, thank you for sharing what you share, like all that kind of stuff. And so I always, as I said, I just trust, even if they're not the likes, it, all of that. I threw all of those rules out the window because I spent a bunch of time really focusing on trying to like be what I thought that I should be. Do you know what happened? My
Probably burnt out.
I burnt out, and also I went from being like having great engagement, and again the algorithm and all the stuff changes to all of a sudden like I was like, am I speaking to no one? Like what had happened? And it was because I allowed myself to follow somebody else's rule of saying, well, this is what you should do, instead of just again being me, sharing what I want to share, not caring if doing this is going to then get it so nobody sees my stories or that kind, like just not. And sometimes I do play with it 100% because it's sometimes fun to like when we're in our creator energy, right? Our divine creator energy is the doing the thing and then seeing what happens from it, right? So sometimes I do like to, oh, I'll do a trial reel and see what happens with it because it's fun. Sometimes it's just fun to just again play without having this expectation of what's going to come back. But yeah, like as soul-led people, like we need to just trust in ourselves and our own path. And I think that that too brings people back to we've got the whole dismantling of the spiritual guru kind of out there. And that truly does. Like I always say, I feel like I've done the collective service when I have brought them back to who they are.
100%.
Because I don't want people to even be reliant on me. I feel like I'm like, okay, I'm gonna like get you, and then you're good, and you're gonna go.
Yes.
And I feel like I've done if you never come back to me. And
Hmm.
you also don't go back to anybody else, right? You're so tuned into yourself and your own inner knowing and your own blueprint that you're just like, you're good to go. you're good to go. But like you shared, that doesn't mean we're not going to hit the blips and we're not going to have the doubts and we're not going to have all of those things. So I always say it takes courage before confidence. So we have to have the courage to show up. We have to have the courage to share what it is that's coming through, right? If you don't sit there and label yourself that I'm a medium, I mean, we all have spiritual gifts. This is not something that just some of us are born with. We
Right.
truly all have, some of us have certain things that are stronger than others, all the clairs, right? But we truly do have. And so if something's coming through, you don't have to doubt it. I mean, but trust that at first you might, but then just knowing that maybe there's somebody out there that's meant to hear that, right? Random messages. I used to get downloads like nonstop. And at one point I was like, okay, I need to like share all of this. And then I started to learn that sometimes it was like, but then I would be like, is it for me? Is it for other people? Like, what is this for? It was just like overwhelming. And when I had to tune it out a little bit and be like, hey, too much. Please like pull back because hello, overwhelming. Um,
Mhm.
but again, just trusting like that, and so I started to kind of feel into more. Should I be sharing this? Should I not be sharing it? And sometimes maybe I did, and maybe I wasn't meant to. Maybe, sometimes some of the things aren't like don't land with people the same way. And that's totally okay because like we're meant to fumble. We're meant to mess up. Like real raw and messy. That is what this is supposed to be. And again, it's like back to what I said before, right? That's the whole perfect look of like this is no. No. The retreats with the white flowing dresses and everybody doing the cacao or the ayahuasca ceremony, like no. Your
Yeah.
spiritual path is your spiritual path. And if you're not called to any of those things, then that's fine, right? And it really truly trusting in what we're each called towards. And
Love that because that's so true. Like what you just said there. Like I had an epiphany as you were talking about it with the white dresses. Because I think everyone thinks that like a spiritual awakening is just so beautiful and elegant and it's easy and you're just, you're free and you're, aware and expanded. And I can honestly say that it is extremely messy. So, people might see me and think, like I might, come across with the perception that I have it all together, I have it all figured out. I certainly don't. And I can tell you there have been multitudes of nights and days where I've cried in my shower, where I've thought, I can't possibly go on. I've got all of these, emotions running through me and all of these thoughts and like, have I, I've made all these choices. Have I made the right choices? And I've second guessed everything, you know, I've gone through all of that and I still have my moments where I have days where, I'm not in, I guess, what we'd call alignment. Um, so I just want to make that okay for people because I think sometimes, like, as you said, people might have that perception that, we have it all figured out or it's all, gravy. But it's, I've struggled so many times. So I just want people to know that. And just going back to what you said about like, you were talking about, how you were doing reels for fun. And I actually love that because that is the exact energy, that fun. It's almost like that childlike, like innocence, right? And that energy of like, I'm just going to go out there and I'm just going to have fun because I'm going to tell you, I don't know the first things about algorithm and I don't really care. I post things that I know are true to my heart and that I think will have an impact and that someone needs to either hear or see. And I trust that the right person is going to, be scrolling and find it just how I randomly found you. I was on Facebook and I'm not a big what's the word? I don't go into the psych chick groups a lot. I was just starting out on social media and randomly I was scrolling one day and I saw your post. And I don't know what, came over me. I saw all these comments. I'm thinking like, I'm not going to get picked here. And I remember my comment was, I think it was, well, if it's free, I'll do it. And all these other people were like, oh, I'll do it. Thank you so much. You know, it wasn't my most gracious moment, that's for sure. But you picked me. And I feel like it was spirit led. And we had this incredible session. And I like what you taught me was fundamental to my journey. So I know it was meant to be. And we were meant to have that session and we were meant to connect. And here we are again connecting. And I just instantly felt drawn to you. And I thought, you know, this is a person that like, I have so much in common with that I feel like if I met in real life, like we would totally be friends because we're just on the same like wavelength. And you just, you know, you get me and I get you. And that session that we had was so transformative. And I literally went from having no clients, none, to within like 2 days, I had six. And I think we talked about my goal was like three per week, which I've maintained since April. Um, and it's all about stepping into, and I did that this morning. I stepped into the version of Heather that, you know, doesn't think twice, doesn't second guess herself. And I got up out of bed and I went for that walk and I took my vitamins and my probiotics. And then I got ready and I sat down and I was like, we are doing this. I'm not giving myself a way out, but I'm going to step into that vibration of Heather that would do all of these things because that is what I want to create. That's the version of Heather I want to be.
Yeah. Um, I don't, I'm like, as you're talking, I'm thinking there was just something too about you. And I think part of me kind of laughed at the fact of, oh, if it's free. So, because here's the thing. So first off, to the post, when the Akashic records first came into my awareness, and I will be totally open and honest. It was a webinar that on Facebook that week after week after week kept coming in. Now I have a friend, I've known her since grades like elementary school. And so obviously like people lose touch, we reconnected, she kind of shared what she did. And at one point, and this was trying to think of when this was. I can't. But she had said to me, she says, come fall, what you're going to do is going to make sense. And I was like, so I had just gone through my divorce, big life change, all the things or whatever. And she was like, no, like your work is, and I'm like, you mean last fall because I started working. I mean, I kind of had to, right? So I found a couple clients, we're helping support them in their business and stuff. She says, no. And I was like, I mean, maybe she's wrong. Anyways, again, this ad just kept showing up and it didn't talk anything about Akashic Records or the modality that I was basically certified in, which is soul realignment, which is a very defined way of accessing and reading the records because we can all tap into the records, we can all read it, but sometimes we don't always get really good information from it. So those two things, I had no idea what either of them were. I still have the book with the notes from that webinar that I watched. And like I remember, I wrote Akashic Records, like Google, what the heck is this? Right? No idea. So, but by the end of the webinar, and I was like, okay, I'm doing this. And I was doing it for myself. I was doing it just to heal myself. I had no interest in being a practitioner. It was like week two into it, and I thought, okay, I cannot learn this and not share it with the world because holy shit, this is like mind blowing. I could just see how completely transformative and life changing. Like it was like the last 10 years of my life and all the struggle made so much sense. It blew me away. So, anyways, I decided that okay, I'm going to do the thing, get myself the certification and all of that. And so then I jumped many levels. I'm now an advanced Technically, I'm an advanced soul realignment practitioner, a certified advanced soul realignment practitioner, I guess is what it would be. But I don't like, again, that's just it's a modality. It's so much beyond that. And but the immersive experience. So it was a training that I had went through, and when I remember when kind of it was presented, and I was like, oh, I have to do this. So, but I thought, okay, I've never done this before. I need a few people who I can try this on so I can actually see, like, I can again put it into place. Because the one thing that I've learned for myself, and again, this is very strongly in my blueprint, is that I am reinventive. I hold this reinventive energy. So it's like taking the defined thing. So again, the structure, what I was trained, and then how to like make it my own. So I had to trial it. And so I did. I went into this group or whatever that I'm, an expert or whatever in. And I posted, and yeah, Heather was one of the people. It was like, I'll do it. So, but we chatted, we connected, and we got, and oh my gosh, okay. The experience and guiding you through that, because that's truly what it is it's like I bring you into your records and I just help guide you. You do the full experience. Whereas a typical session, I go into the records, I pull out all the information, and then I would just present it, right? Whereas this, you are fully immersed, which is so much more transformational.
I
And
agree.
you were like the perfect test subject. Perfect test subject. And I remember, so you did that reel right away.
I did.
And then you telling me, you were like, okay, so quickly. But that's actually what can happen with that, right? You were truly so ready. You were so open. Um, the version of you at the start to the version of you at the end was completely different. Your energy, your everything. And so yeah, you were like just the perfect person to trial that out. So I'm glad that I followed my instinct, even though I could have maybe taken. You were like, if it's spring, I was like, yes, she's it. And then I did love because yes, we are both Canadian and we are fairly close-ish to each other. And so I just loved how there was that tie as well too. But yeah, I truly believe though that like everything happens as it should. So you were, as you said, you typically were not, but you're just scrolling. You were
It
meant to see
was.
that post. You were meant to have that experience with me, right? I was meant to see, but I ignored the ads for weeks. And so one thing I've learned is if something's meant for you, it will keep coming back around. You will not be able to ignore it. And
No.
that could be a good thing and it can also be a bad thing because if you've got stuff that's going on in your life and you're kind of ignoring and you're trying to like brush it under the carpet and everything like that,
Hmm.
trust me, that was my cosmic 2x4, right? There will become a point in time where if you're not stepping into what you need to be doing, sometimes the universe will come along, God source universe will come along and rip the carpet right out from underneath you
Yes.
to force you. I needed to be forced. And but I'm an Aries. I'm an Aries sun, a Taurus moon, and then a Virgo rising. So I'm like, I've got that like
Mhm.
stubborn I say I'm like that stubborn bull, could like dig my feet in and be like, you are not making me do that. Like that is very much the who I am. And so sometimes, yeah, I need that. But you were just so open. You were so ready. And I just
Never
love
wanted anything so bad, I think. I was like, I know this is what I'm meant to do. I have to take that chance. And like you coming in at that time was just like, it was magical.
it really,
Absolutely magical. And
it
it
really,
totally, like, that was I feel like that took me to the next level. And it was meant to be, we were meant to meet. And it totally took me to the next level. So I feel like if anyone's watching this, do that session. You will not regret it. I can attest to that. So thank
yeah,
you.
you are so welcome. And yes, everything. There is no such thing as coincidences.
No, there
Every
really isn't.
no, no. What seems like a coincidence, trust us, it's not
It's
at all.
not.
Just be like, okay, we are always supported and guided, and we are co-creating. Again, whatever you relate to, God, source, universe, in my opinion, it's all one. But we all have
Mhm.
different beliefs, and my beliefs, my divine truths are not your divine truths or whatever, right? We all hold our different. But God, source, universe, we are here and we are co-creating, right? And so we've got our whole team that's here to support us. And just trusting that like all of these things that seem somewhat magical, they are. And I don't know. To me, I just bring the whole like you said before about the fun, the joy, the everything to that. Like, let this experience be fun, even when the world around us is a dumpster fire. Like sometimes I see things and I just think to myself, oh my gosh, like really? You've seen you probably seen it. I'm sure everybody's seen it, but like I think it started maybe, was it a few years ago? But it's like, oh gosh, that wasn't on my bingo card for 2025, right? Because it seems like since 2020, Doesn't matter where you are in the world. There is
Hmm.
just, and quite often it's like, really? Um, but just trusting that all of that really, that fun, that whatever, yeah, it might seem wild and crazy, but maybe there's also something really cool to it. That's what I try to bring in as well too. It's like, okay, so yes, this is all, but just trusting that everything, even when it's chaotic, is guiding you somewhere better, guiding you where you're meant to be. Again, if you're not like me and you're like the stubborn bull who like is gonna dig your heels in and say, I'm not doing it, because then you'll have the rug ripped out from underneath you. And I don't want that for anybody. It's so much better if we kind of guide ourselves along the path instead. So, but oh my gosh, Heather, this conversation, but like ever, right? I mean, we've had this a few times. It's just, it really truly is. And I agree with you. If we lived much closer, we would be going to concerts together and
Love
like
concerts.
living it up. We would so be living it up. So, but I am just so honored to like have you on this and be able to connect with you this way and have you share what you shared because I know that there's people out there that things will have landed with and that's when I feel like we've done our thing for today. Um, so I know we could keep chatting for hours. We really could.
Good.
I I always say that I try to keep these shorter, but the conversation, and I don't want to cut it off. Like I never want to kind of stop and, but again, people don't have, some people do say that they turn these on and they listen to them while they're cleaning or cooking or doing something like that, which is fantastic. Like do it while you're doing something else, just listen. But I do try to keep it shorter. So, but maybe I'll have to have you on again some other time,
Love that.
and but I want to give you kind of the chance to share any last words for anybody if you've got anything else that's really, there that needs to be said, and also to let people know how they can connect with you. Because if people are resonating with Heather and you really truly want to learn more about her, follow her, book a session, with her, how can they do that?
I have finally have a website. I didn't know you could actually purchase a domain. That's how far behind I am on technology. So I have a website now. It's called the nofiltermedium.com. And that actually comes from my guides. I gave a reading one day and I was sitting in the tub afterwards and I was thinking like, oh my God, I have no filter because I feel like my guides are I'm a very direct person and I try to, convey my messages in a way that is heartfelt, heart-centered. My mission is to never upset anyone. It's to uplift and empower people. But I feel like if you're drawn to me, it's probably because you're looking for someone who's not going to just feed you BS, someone who's going to be real and authentic and honest. And sometimes spirit, and I've had to learn this lesson myself, is sometimes we don't always get what we want, but we get what we need. And perception is everything.
Yes.
So I feel like if you're drawn to me, it's going to be because, you don't want the fluff. You want to know exactly what spirit is trying to guide you towards or give you advice on. So I think people who are drawn to me are going to really align with that.
Oh, I love that. And I also love the no filter part. Like I really truly do. I do not have a filter. I mean, sometimes I have to hold myself back from swearing or whatever. I've always too, it's like, yeah, I'm the spiritual person with the trucker mouth. Like it's just who I am. I mean, so, but yeah, I love that because you're right. And there's some people who they're maybe not ready for that. And that's
Mhm.
totally okay. They can find their person. But for those who do truly want the no filter version, Heather is your person. So, well, thank you. I will also obviously have it in the description as well too to make it really easy for people. You can just click the link and that kind of thing to be able to find her. But well, thank you everyone for tuning in to Soul Unscripted. Thank you, Heather, for being on with me today and for this beautiful soul-led conversation. Um, Such an honor, such an honor. So,
Thank
if
you.
today's conversation lit something up in you, like obviously I would love to know. So please share it with me. And until next time, stay grounded, stay aligned, and keep letting your soul lead.